Okay, my dear students, so today we are going to study about the chapter 5, and the title of that chapter is bioenergetics. Okay, so bio stands for life, and energetics means that how the energy is involved in biological processes, how the energy is involved in biological molecules, and what is the connection between these two things. So we will study in details during these chapters. So this is the slide that we often have learned that the small inorganic precursors, here you can see, that can give rise to small organic molecules, and these small organic molecules collectively they are going to make macromolecules through the process of polymerization, right? So as we discussed these concepts a lot of times, that the macromolecules basically they arise from the polymers, and this whole process of formation of macromolecules, nucleic acids, proteins, lipids, polysaccharides, this process is reversible. Okay, whenever things need to go back to the small organic molecules, they can go, and these small organic molecules also can go back to the inorganic precursors if needed. Right, so what is energy? Right, conventionally we have a definition of energy from the childhood that it is the capacity to do work, but the modern definition is it is the capacity to cause a change, because with time we have learned that there is nothing going on as a new thing. Everything is a kind of change. First we have one form, and that this form is converted into another form. So this change is caused by something, and that something is energy, right? So this is obviously to all the living organisms, animals, plants, they obtain energy, they store energy, and they have to utilize energy properly in order to maintain their life on this planet, and in order to reproduce. Okay, these are the changes. I have told you it is the capacity to cause a change. So how this change is going to take place? So first of all, first change is this one, the synthetic work. This synthetic work or synthetic change, it is again you know that it is the formation of anything bigger from the smaller molecules, right? Synthesis, for example, the photosynthesis means that something bigger, something is for something bigger is found from the inorganic precursors or from the smaller molecules. Then we have mechanical change or mechanical work, that means that involves some mechanics. And then the concentration work, then the electrical work, generation of heat and generation of light. All these 6 changes, this is the summary of whatever changes we are having in our body as well as in the cellular level, and sometimes it is also at the organelle level. So we will see one by one that what does synthetic work means, what does generation of light means, and what is their importance in bioenergetics. Here you see these are the examples. For example, synthetic work is going on in the process of photosynthesis. Right here you see photosynthesis, synthesis of the glucose from with the help of light, water and carbon dioxide. Very simple, right? And this is the mechanical work. All the mechanical works, the exercises, our movements, it comes under the mechanical work. And then the concentration work, accumulation of molecules in a cell. So there are many types of this kind of concentration works. For example, sometimes you need molecules from area of lower concentration to higher concentration, and sometimes you need molecules from the area of higher concentration to lower concentration, and from lower to higher. Both these features, they are studied under the concentration work. Okay, gee. The electrical work example is, this is mitochondria, and the mitochondria also have these influx of ions in and out of the cell, and again the cell membrane. We have membrane potential, if you can remember. So this membrane potential, it is required by the cell membrane in order to have a kind of transport of materials in and out of the cells, right? So this is one of the examples, and sometimes in mitochondria also you will need some kind of potential for the movement or for the transport of molecules in and out of the organelle, right? Why do our body shiver during cold? This is the question, and the answer is that whenever there is a need of heat in our body, so our body will shiver, our cells will move, and the heat will be generated, and this heat will be used to maintain the temperature of the body at 37.6 degrees centigrade, right? So this heat is produced in our body, and this is to maintain our body temperature as well. So the normal temperature of body is 37.6, and almost 2/3 of our our food that we take in, that we eat, that 2/3 just is going to maintain our body temperature. For example, if you are eating 3 kg food a day, so 2 kg food is going on in your body, going inside your body, just to maintain the heat of, or just to maintain the temperature of the body, that is 37.6 degrees centigrade, right? So then light, bioluminescence, and these are some fireflies. You will see them, and especially at the night time. Okay, in Urdu we call them jugnu, and these are these features are also conversion of one type of energy into another type of energy. So every example here, it is depicting, it is showing that the energy, basically it is the conversion stuff. It is converted from one form to another form, from one shape to another shape, right? So nothing new is created. So that this is also the beauty of nature, that a human being cannot create anything. Nobody till date has claimed that I have created this. So just look at anything. Just look at the plane, just look at the houses, just look at the buses. These are these are converted things, right? The material is converted from one form to another form. So nothing new is created, just they are built with different styles and with different manners and with different features, but actually they are converted from one form into another form. So in detail, synthetic work, biosynthesis, you see the polymerization, the macromolecules they are made by the the smaller molecules, the simpler molecules. For example, the carbohydrates, most of the time they are made up of glucose molecules. The proteins, they are made up of the amino acids. And this is one of the examples that whenever there is a synthesis in the biological molecules, in the biological life, one of the pillar is polymerization. So the other thing is, they are going to maintain the cell structures. Okay, so continuously there is a recycling going on in our body. Millions of cells die, and millions of cells they re-emerge, they are remade in our body through the process of recycling, and this synthetic process is going on and on throughout the life of any organism. Mechanical work, there are two types of mechanical works. These are outside the cell, they may be inside the cell. For example, inside the cell you have lots of chromosomes. When during cell division you will see spindle fibers, and there is a pull. That pull is a mechanical work. What kind of pull? The pull that is needed to strain the chromatid towards its respective pole, and that's a huge amount of energy involved, and this is again a kind of mechanical work. Outside the cell, how? So outside the cell you have that flagella, cilia. Which cells in our body are ciliated cells? Do you know? Yes, very important cells, respiratory cells. These cells are responsible for the trapping of the foreign materials, right? So these days we are suffering from from a pandemic. We are facing the problem, so the respiratory system is involved. So this respiratory system, it has cells that have cilia there, right? And these ciliated cells, they help us to have our mucus, and that mucus traps the outsiders, and that mucus is then go out of our body through coughing, or through spitting, or through mucus is going out of the mouth, and that mucus contains lots of outsider things. So whenever there is a problem in the ciliated cells, the respiratory system is gone, right? Concentration work, diffusion versus concentration, right? And it means that within the cell or within the organelles, there is a metabolism going on, and during the metabolism lots of byproducts because of the activity of the cells are produced, and these byproducts need to get out of the cells, right? And these products or these byproducts, they are accumulated in the cell, and they get and the cell get rid of them through secretory vesicles. Okay, and there are some other things like the lysosomes within our cells, and these lysosomes, they contain enzymes, and they can just get the things, they can engulf the things, and that engulfed byproduct is broken down into pieces, and sometimes it is recycled, and sometimes it is gone outside the body. So this is also one of the feature of energy, where energy is involved, the concentration work. So sometimes molecules, they move across the membrane against the concentration gradient. So whenever any molecule is moving against the concentration gradient, there is always the involvement of energy. Without energy, without ATP, there is no example that the things can move against the concentration gradient, right? If heat, so as I told you that about 2/3 of our energy is used just to maintain our body temperature. Okay, so this is also a kind of energy, right? And the increase in the temperature is useful for the warm-blooded animals. What is the difference between warm-blooded animals and cold-blooded animals? The warm-blooded animals' temperature remains constant, no matter if the outside temperature is 50 degrees centigrade or minus 50 degrees centigrade. So they have to maintain their body temperature in order to live a normal life. But the cold-blooded animals, they can change their temperature as per their outside environment, right? So this is also a kind of energy. This heat is needed for the works to be done, right? And then electrical works, as I told you, that the concentration of different ions on the surface of the cell membrane, they are responsible for the potential of the membrane, and that potential of the membrane is normally used especially in the nerve cells, right? So nerve cells, what do you know? Nerve cells are the cells that are, especially the neurons, they are responsible for transmitting the signals, and these signals are transmitted in a very short time, in the microseconds, in the femtoseconds. So that's why they have to be very smart, they have to be very quick. So this electrical work, it is also a kind of energy, right? And this energy is used for transferring the messages within the organisms, and as it depends on the need of the organism. Electrophorus electricus, this is something big, right? This is a kind of a fish, a or mammal, and that have cells, and these cells, individual cells, they can go for 150 millivolts in one cell, and together there's thousands of such cells. When they are arranged in a series, when they are together, they can produce a current and electricity of several hundred volts, and that's a huge amount of current, right? And this current is used sometimes for its defense and sometimes for its food, also for its movement, right? So these are the examples of the electrical work going on in different organisms. Then we have bioluminescence work. This is a very important slide. You know, in every cell biology lab, in every molecular biology lab, no scientist can even think of not using the dyes, not using the stains, not using materials that have some light activity. Light, that light is maybe of different things that may have different origins, but the first ever fluorescent protein that was used for the staining purposes was that comes from the jellyfish, right? The green fluorescent proteins, this is from the jellyfish, and it is used in every cell biology lab, in every molecular biology lab in the world. So what does that mean? That the green fluorescent protein, it is a protein that will fluoresce on a particular wavelength. So what will we do? We will attach this protein with our target protein. So whenever the target protein is bound, it will give a different fluorescence, right? And that fluorescence is then measured by a machine that is developed by the physicists, that they can get the signal, and then they can emit a particular fluorescence, and from that particular fluorescence we can be ensured that this particular target molecule is present or absent. So most of the ELISA readers, most of the ELISA tests, nowadays these are based on the fluorescent proteins. Okay, so this is also one of the example we have in the energy. So that light or that electricity or that concentration or the polymerization, biosynthesis, all of them, they are types of energy, and these types of energies, all of them, they are involved with the biological molecules. All of them are involved with the organisms. So here we see another slide, the phototrophs. Photo means light, and trophs mean to feed, the things that feed on light. Okay, and the chemotrophs, they are the the organisms that can feed on the chemicals. Autotrophs. Photo means light, auto means automatically, and troughs to get their feed. So they can use the energy from the sun, and they are going to produce the carbon compounds just using the carbon dioxide and the water. These are plants, algae, cyanobacteria, and photosynthetic bacteria. So what are the human beings? Are we phototrophs? No. Maybe we are chemotrophs. No. We are we human beings, we are okay. So we human beings, we are chemoheterotrophs, and we ingest energy. Hetero means that we are not able to synthesize our own food. We have to take it from the outside. Okay, we have to eat something like carbohydrates or fats or proteins, all that stuff we eat a lot, and then of course these stuffs, fats, carbohydrates, proteins, these are chemicals, and we are getting them from outside. So chemicals from outside to feed on. So we are the organisms that are getting the chemicals from the outside world, and then on them we are feeding. So that's why we are called as chemoheterotrophs. Okay. Alright, so this is very famous cycle, the flow of energy and matter through the biosphere. So you know that there are some consumers, there are some producers, but here one thing you must understand is that everything is triggered directly or indirectly only through one source. What is that? And that thing is here, sun. Okay, this solar energy, it is the origin, it is the initiating point, it is the thing that is needed to making other things work, like the formation of the organic compounds, then the chemotrophs, and then we have back to land has nitrates, and these nitrates again are then taken up by the plants, and these plants are then taken up by the animals, and animals release nitrogen, this nitrogen again taken up by the plant, and then the organic compounds are here. So all the time heat is lost, heat is going back, right, back into the environment. So this energy cycle, again it is very important. So this energy is changing its shape, right? Sometimes the main energy, it is in the form of light, the solar energy, and this light is then taken up by the plants. Plants process this light to form the glucose or the organic compounds, and these organic compounds are then, along with the oxygen, they are used by the animals on earth. Okay, and these again they are utilized they are converted back into the nitrate and the carbon compounds, carbon dioxide, right, and they again release the energy into the environment. So this heat is constantly being lost or recycled through this flow diagram. So bioenergetics, basically it is a branch of science that deals with the transformation of energy in the living organisms, right? So the energy will be changed from one shape to another shape. Very simple. So thermodynamics, it is also involved in the physics, right? So heat and temperature, whenever they have a relationship with the energy and work, that branch of science, it is known as the thermodynamics. We have different laws of thermodynamics. We will study one by one in the coming slides. So how to define a system and surroundings? System is any portion of the universe that is being seen or considered at any given moment in the universe, right? And the things other than system, they are called as the surroundings. So we will try to understand this concept in the coming slide. Here you see, here the plant, it is a system, right? It is a kind of system that is using its solar energy, producing something beneficial, and then also releasing the heat, right? So this is a kind of system here. So system are of two kinds, and the plant itself is a system, and the things other than plant, they are its surroundings. Okay, so there are two types of systems. One is the open system and one is the closed system. Open system, as you can see, there are no boundaries for that. Okay, they are easily. So the open system and the closed system. So one concept you need to understand here: the open system, it is the system that is utilized by the living organisms. Okay, by the organisms or by the living cells, living stuff. But the closed system, it cannot be even think of in the living systems, you know. And if I asked you that differentiate between the open system and closed system, so you can tell me, the answer will be that there is no communication of the system with its surroundings when it is a closed system, but there is always a communication, a collaboration of the system with its surroundings in an open system, right? So we people, plants, animals, human beings, all of us, we are actually following this type, the open system. Okay, so this is also the slide. So as I told you that this closed system, it is not possible in the life. So you can have a concept that the free exchange of energy and matter, it is only possible in open system, but it is not possible in the closed system. And these are some of the definitions. I am sure that you know all these: the calories, the heat, and work. These are the basic definitions. Okay, you can have an understanding. You already have an understanding of that, I suppose. Okay, so we are moving towards the laws of thermodynamics. The laws of thermodynamics, you know, the first law of the thermodynamics, the second law of thermodynamics, they have a particular relevance with the biology. Okay, so we will discuss them one by one. Here comes the first law. Energy can never be created nor destroyed. It only can be converted from one shape to another shape, from one form to another form. So that's the thing I told you, that we cannot claim, nobody can claim that I have created this thing or scientists have created that stuff. We just have converted things. Okay, so this is the first law of thermodynamics, that the things are changed from one form to another form all the time. This is not just true for sometimes, all the times things are changing. And this is the first law of thermodynamics, that nothing can be created. Energy can never be created, energy can never be destroyed, it just can be converted from one form to another form. Okay, here for example, this man is having a meal twice or thrice a day, and he is having 5 units of energy. Then energy he is utilizing are 4 units, and this the energy that is being stored, it is 1 unit. So if we eat more, we have less exercise, then we are going to store more energy. Okay, so this is the conservation of energy for the human body. So that's why we have to eat as per our requirement. If we are not doing any mechanical work, if you are not exercising, if you are not having anything like some sports or games, so you have to eat less. If you eat more, then most of the eatables, they are going to be stored in our body in the form of carbohydrates, in the form of glycogen, or in the form of lipids, fats, etc. And that is not good for our body. Again, this is the example of transformation of energy. Okay, so from one form to another form. This is the ice cream loved by the kids. These kids use this ice cream. Okay, so energy is changed from one form into another. This is electricity that we use in our home. Okay, and sometimes we heat, we use light, we have computers, and sometimes we need to make some tea or to have anything. Here is the electrical energy can internal energy E. The internal energy, it is represented by E, and it is the total energy present within the system. Okay, so actual value of E we cannot measure it directly because we only can know the difference, that how much energy was there previously and after performing some activity how much energy is left. So that is the concept of internal energy. So that's why we always use delta. Delta means the change in the energy, the energy present previously and the energy that we have right now, and what was the change. So that change is measured, and then we use that change in different equations for the biochemical reactions and for different types of concepts. Okay, so there is nothing absolute energy. There is always the energy that is the delta E, the change in the energy. For example, here we have a chemical reaction. That chemical reaction get the products from the reactants. Okay, so there is a change in the overall energy of the cell, so that change will be measured. Okay, the measurement of the energy in a thermodynamic system, it is called as H. Okay, so we have in our cells, we are also dealing with the volume and pressure of the cells. They do feel pressure, they do have volume. Okay, so that's why we have that we call them as enthalpy rather than the energy, rather than the internal energy. So in living system we always use the word H. This is enthalpy. Okay, so enthalpy, why enthalpy? The internal energy plus the pressure and the product of pressure and volume, because we cannot ignore these two factors in the living cells at all. So that's why in the bioenergetics subject we always have enthalpy rather than the energy. So exothermic and endothermic reactions are the exothermic reactions means the energy is going to be released. Whenever there is a release of energy, it is always called as an exothermic reaction. Exo means outside. Okay, thermo, temperature, heat. When the temperature is released, temperature is going out, so it means it is an exothermic reaction. Endothermic reaction means the heat is getting in, heat is being absorbed. Okay, so these are the examples. For example, if we are going to burn gasoline, the heat is released, and if we are going to melt the ice cubes, then the endothermic, it will be an example of the endothermic reactions. This is again an example of endothermic reactions. Endothermic reactions, photosynthesis is an endothermic reaction. Why? Because the glucose is being made. Okay, heat is conserved, and when heat is conserved and when heat is stored, when the energy is stored, it is always an endothermic reaction. But here the second example is the cooking. When you have a hot frying pan and you are toasting the eggs, again the heat is absorbed, and that absorbed heat is used to cook the food. Okay, these are the examples of the endothermic reactions. And exothermic reactions, the burning of gasoline, combustion of methane. This is the example of the exothermic reaction because the heat is released here. Similarly, when there is a rain, the water vapors, they are condensed and they release energy in the form of heat. Okay, so these are the examples of exothermic and endothermic reactions. Then we are moving towards the second law of thermodynamics, that states that there is always greater disorder in the universe. Okay, so every physical or chemical change, the universe always is tending towards the greater disorder or the randomness, and this randomness is called as entropy. So overall in this universe, the entropy tends to increase all the time. The law of this is also called as the law of thermodynamic spontaneity. right? So this is the second law of thermodynamics that states that every change, whether it is a physical change or a chemical change, and if it is going to take place in the universe, there is always a randomness, there is always increase in the entropy. So as I told you that this law is also called as the law of thermodynamic spontaneity. The things are going on spontaneously. For example, the oxidation of cellulose, melting of ice cubes, boiling of water. So they always have a clear direction. What that direction is? That direction is disordered. The things are going to be disordered. Okay, so this disorder is known as entropy, and this entropy will keep increasing and increasing and increasing till the collapse of the whole universe at any time. Entropy is represented by S. Okay, and for any system, whenever there is a change in the entropy, the randomness or disorder will be increased, right? So just remember one thing: whenever there is a measure of randomness, whenever there is a chemical reaction going on, most of the time the entropy of the universe tends to increase all the time. So here is a question for you: which we have two glasses, one is full of water, the other is full of ice cubes. Which glass, or which of these following two glass, we have two glasses, right? So my question is, which glass is more disordered? This one having liquid, or this one having the ice cubes? So I will ask you in the session, that in the tutorial session we're gonna have on Thursday, right? So prepare for that. Which is more disordered, the glass of ice cubes or the glass of water? This slide is showing delta S. Delta S also, the entropy, it is also a kind of change. We cannot measure it directly, so when the block of ice it is going to become a liquid, the entropy increases, and when it decreases, when the molecules, when the water is again going back to the ice cubes. Okay, so you have to the answer of the previous question is in this slide, so you just have to find out. So increased entropy, combustion of paper involves an increase in the entropy, and these are the examples. As many things as we burn, all of them, they are going to increase the entropy, and they can never be converted back into the same things whenever there is a disorder. Okay, for example, if we burn a piece of paper and it becomes an ash, we cannot convert that ash back into the paper, right? That ash can be used or recycled for some other things. So that's why the entropy most of the times it always tend to increase. The other example is whenever there is evaporation from the gasoline, entropy always increased, right? So again, some examples. Entropy, when entropy decrease, the entropy is going to decrease when system becomes more ordered. Okay, so for example, when the molecules, when the movement of molecules is less. For example, here we see that when the mobile molecules in the liquid water become locked in the place in the ice, so in the ice they are having less movement. So when they have less movement, they will have less entropy. Okay, because in the molecules when they are in the liquid form, they are going to have more random movements, right? And similarly, when the glucose are synthesized from the several smaller molecules, for example from the carbon dioxide, again the entropy is decreased, because they are going to more ordered. Okay, my dear students, so here in this slide, the spontaneous events and entropy changes, because all processes or reactions that occur spontaneously, they always result in the increase of the total entropy of the universe. Okay, so each and every process, it will, after all, it is going to increase the entropy of the universe. And when there is a greater disorder, when there is always a disorder, this disorder is going towards, it will go towards the collapse. Okay, so this is very simple concept, that whenever there is a spontaneous event, okay, this spontaneous event will increase the entropy of the universe. So how can we show the second law of thermodynamics in an equation form? So as I told you, that there are two types of processes going on in the universe. One, the reversible, the other is the irreversible. For reversible processes, the delta S, the measurement of the entropy, and the measurement of will be the measurement of the entropy will be equal to 0. But for irreversible processes, it is greater than 0. So most of the processes, for example, spontaneous processes that are going on in nature, they are irreversible processes. For example, one of the example is, whenever we eat a boiled egg, whenever we eat, whenever we do anything, that cannot come back into its original shape. So for example, when we boil egg, for example, when we cook egg, for example, when we burn paper, so this is an irreversible process. And during irreversible process, the energy can never ever be lower. It can never ever be lower than 0. So it is always more than 0. Okay, so the entropy of the universe, it tends to increase, and this is all about the second law of thermodynamics. So in this slide, the system, it shows the relationship between the system and the surroundings. So when we want to express the second law of thermodynamics in terms of entropy, okay, so there is always a thinking that the biological processes, they require for their relationship between the systems and the surroundings. So these predictions of the spontaneity of the reactions, we cannot just consider the system, we have to consider the surroundings as well. So we always, because surroundings, they are involved in an open system. As I told you previously, that we people are the plants, the animals, human beings, we cannot survive without our surroundings, because we are an open system. So we have to take consideration of the surroundings, of the environment, of the effect of the surroundings, the features of the surroundings, the outside environment, they are going to affect our system, right? So we have to consider system, we have to consider the surroundings in order to measure, in order to study the entropy of the universe, okay, and also the entropy of the system. So this was all about our lecture. Thank you very much for your time, and if you have any question, if you have any query, we have session on Thursday. Please come up with your questions, and we will discuss. Alright, thank you very much.